how did the reconciliation process function, especially in Serbia, and what role did external factors have? For an example, the European Union.
Okay. In my opinion, the reconciliation process in Serbia was mostly externally driven and funded. It lacked local ownership and true political commitment. My opinion is that reconciliation was never a priority for different governments in Serbia. When they are pressured, then they sometimes put the reconciliation on political agenda, but that's not something that is constant. And in Serbia in particular, we saw the great deal of civil society work on reconciliation. But civic leaders, intellectuals, or organizations that pushed for reconciliation didn't have political support and support of the state, but also support of the society as well. They were rather treated as public enemies and traitors. Also, I see that the space for dialogue about the past and the reconciliation is limited or almost non-existent today. And it's often interrupted by right-wing groups or right-wing politicians. So, to sum up, I would say that two things appear to be dominant: is that lack of political commitment, which is necessary to properly do reconciliation process in the Balkans, and that dependence on donors' agenda and funding.
Thank you. How do the politics and the politicians influence reconciliation today in the Western Balkans, also especially via media?
Well, media are a powerful tool to send the message to your constituencies and the citizens. Unfortunately, what I see is that political leaders are not fully committed to the reconciliation process. And they rather contribute in a negative way, because they create an atmosphere of mistrust towards the other communities, other nations, people from other post-Yugoslav countries. And what is present in Serbian public and is the warlike rhetoric and denial of war crimes committed against Albanians, against the Bosniaks, against Croatians, and many others. So we see that hate speech and chauvinistic statements of Serbian officials are still present today and widely spread in the pro-government media, which, as a result, they undermine normalization of relations between different nations and countries, and they undermine the chance for the lasting peace between people, nations, and countries in the Balkans.
Thank you very much. How has the reconciliation affected the youth in Serbia, and what is their role in the reconciliation process today?
So, as I said before, I think that like I was once a young person, so I realized that I don't know much about the past, and I was lied all the time, almost, or some things like the facts were hidden. So I believe that like not having neither evidence or information or truth what really happened influence your life today and influence the way you make decisions in their life. And I believe that this is what is happening with even youth today, because now state propaganda, I believe, is more powerful than it was when I was younger. And so I think that that influence also the younger generation to be more open to others, not to have that huge distrust or hold hatred toward the others. And I believe they have the very big and important role in this reconciliation process, because I believe that they can cross divides. But I don't know how much there is an opportunity for them, like created to do these kind of things. It's not fully officially supported. It's supported through different initiatives, such as like youth initiatives. Then mostly they're funded by like Germany, European Union, and so on. So it's still more externally driven than internally driven. And but we see also the negative trend that young people in Serbia, but also in other countries, are leaving the Balkans, and they're leaving. They're going to or moving toward the EU or other countries, but they send a very powerful message to our societies that they don't see them as a part of our society the way they are. And they don't see the future in societies that are also captured by the past and they cannot resolve many long-standing disputes. And maybe they are fed up of warlike rhetorics of nationalist leaders. They're still in power. They were present during the 90s and they're still present today. So if this trends in our societies continues, then we will face that many young people will decide actually not to stay and to work and improve our societies, but they'd rather leave in search for their future.
You mentioned the importance of facts and the importance of truth. So let me ask you, how do you comment on the educational system in Serbia and its effects on the reconciliation process?
The education system in Serbia is a weak link in many things, but also in reconciliation process, because reconciliation is not done through the educational system, not in Serbia, but I'm seeing it perfectly clear, not in other countries as well. We are, I believe, learning from the same textbooks I was learning, and you couldn't find a thing about the war during the 90s and the conflict. And in order to actually challenge the institutional truths, you have to like learn how to actually critically think and how to reconsider and challenge what was the dominant dogmas. And I believe that there is a little room within the whole educational system. There are very, motivated individuals that work on this, but like when I'm thinking about the system as the whole, it's not really systematically done. So plus there is also now competition between civic education and religious education that is really penetrating in the educational system. And we've seen many myths around like religious education that are not really helping to the reconciliation process in the Balkans. Although I would like to emphasize that there are good examples of interfaith dialogues in post-Yugoslav space that could move certain things. Maybe at the level of faculties, there are like historians and professors who are trying to work with their colleagues from other countries to discuss and have dialogues about the past and to actually create joint curricula for the future generations. And that's a very important step, very brave thing to do. The only thing what is lacking is that they're not fully at home backed, and that what they're doing is not integrated in the system and then spread to the other things. So it's rather an alternative way of creating knowledge that is quite important, creating evidence about what happened during the conflict and how to actually approach and discuss very, very much sensitive issues. So I see that as a positive step, but overall there is many things to be improved in our educational system today.
Last but not least, does the past impact the now? And did the people and the politicians overcome the past?
Yeah, the past is quite present today. Actually, I have more impression that we live in the past than in the future, because we are constantly reminded, but in a very wrong way, about the past. And politicians like to use the past, the war, today to actually to divert people's attention from the current problems and the burning issues that needs to be solved. For instance, in Serbia, like Kosovo is used frequently in public discourse and discourse of politicians, in media, but mostly when people challenge the government or when they want to discuss economy, healthcare, or educational system, what needs to be done in this regard. Like they're mostly diverted to the biggest national interest and issue in Serbia, which is, according to politicians, Kosovo. So it's instrumentalized. The past is instrumentalized a lot by politicians, and in such way, politicians are keeping not only the state captured, but the civil society captured by one topic, and we have impression that we cannot move forward if we don't resolve war crimes, if we don't resolve open issues. And one of the open issues in the Balkans is still Serbia-Kosovo dispute, and so on. So the past is quite present I would say today.